talking about cloud platforms for IoT. So you people can go through what is cloud platforms, and what are the different concepts, and how it is being. So at the end of this webinar, you people should be able to deploy the application on the cloud and access it anywhere. So this applies to all the engineers, irrespective of your branch or specialization. So don't think that it's only a software thing. Nowadays, IoT is being used in all the all sort of what I can say verticals. So be it healthcare, be it automobile industry, be it what you can say banking sector, be it even the social platforms, what you see, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all these, anywhere, be it even I think it is nowadays the boom is on mostly on the automobile industry and the healthcare industry. So IoT is being used over there also, so don't think that it's only the software thing. Okay, so be open. I would say that before you people uh, start thinking, I would say be open to it. And yeah, let's start. Okay, before going to the if you see the document which is shared, like what all the concepts we will be learning today. So if you see that, it starts from virtualization, not from the cloud computing. So virtualization is a age-old technology. It's not a new technology or something. It's an age-old technology. But understanding this concept first will definitely help you people to understand cloud computing. Okay. So stop me wherever you have questions, wherever you feel that okay, I think we have to understand in a different way. I will try to explain in a different way. Or if you have any different sort of questions, I will definitely try to answer. If not, anyway, next sessions or somewhere I will try to answer you people back. I'll learn it and come back to you people. Okay. So what is virtualization? Okay, this is a concept of creating a new software base or a virtual base of something like computing network, server, or application. So okay, sentence seems to be little clumsy. What it means is, so I hope everyone has a system in their home, a laptop or a desktop or something. Even so, that's a physical hardware. But when you think of virtualization, it's something a physical server is there somewhere. Let's assume there is one server, physical server, somewhere in the what I can say, somewhere in the remote place, and that server is nothing but a CPU, storage, network facilities. All these things are will be there. Only thing is, it will be a high-end. Like I think most of the our laptops nowadays are coming with 4 GB RAM, 8 GB RAM. So that will be a very huge RAM, very huge storage, and even the network access will be very good. All such things will be there. So such servers, it's not good if only one person can utilize. So it's very good if many people can access that. So to do that, and one more thing is, such things are very costly also. Like you can't buy them and use it for your personal use or even for professional use, or for your uh, projects or anything. If you want to do, it's very costly. So instead, what we can do, what the nowadays the vendors are doing is going for these virtualization or cloud computing platforms. So here, what it will be done is, this physical server which is there in the remote place is divided into different parts, and you will be provided an access. One single server can be accessed by many people, and they can put their own software in it. They can put their own application, run it. They can use it as it's their own system. Okay, but how do the vendors achieve this virtualization? Okay, that is one thing. How do you think virtualization can be done? Like a physical server somewhere is sitting, and divide it into several several virtual systems, and give it to you. So okay, I think, yeah, next page we do have a diagram. If you see here, it's an infrastructure at the bottom is there. Can I? Yeah, it's there. If you see, there is an infrastructure over here. Infrastructure is nothing but it will consist of CPU, RAM, storage, or network access. What else you want? Yeah, and such facilities will be there in the infrastructure. On top of it, there will be an hypervisor. Okay. Now, what does this hypervisor do? So our first question at how we can achieve virtualization. Through this hypervisor, we can uh, do this virtualization. We can achieve this virtualization. Okay. So now think, okay, what do you think hypervisor is? Hypervisor is nothing but it's not a physical thing. Okay, it's just a software. Software is written that allows you to what do you say, virtualize the hardware. So what it does is basically it pulls off the resources from this infrastructure. Okay, so let's say there is a CPU core of 16 GB RAM. Let's assume that 16 GB RAM is there. Now what it will do, there are three people who wants to access have their own machine, virtual machine. Now what this hypervisor will do, it will divide it into equal, like 4 GB, and it will give it to this 4 or 6 GB. How much it will be? 16 GB divided by 3, approximately 5 GB. Let's assume 5 GB. It will give each to virtual machines. Now your OS will have some sort of 4 GB RAM. Okay, it will divide. The storage is around, let's assume, some 1 TB. It will be divided into 3 VMs. You can even it will be even assigned, like, okay, at the time of VM created, you can even tell that of how much GB you want to allocate from the total 1 TB memory, how much RAM you want to allocate. Okay, all these things can be done through this software hypervisor. Okay, and one advantage will be each virtual machine can have their own guest operating system, meaning, okay, of course, the different people will have their different requirements. One would like to have a Windows machine, one would like to have a Linux machine, and one would like to have a CentOS, Red Hat. So depending on their requirement, they can put their own OS in it and run their applications. Application meaning it not necessary some sort of uh, Java application or something. It can be even your games also. You can even play all over these virtual machines. Okay. So until here, guys, any doubts? I hope people are able to hear me. Hello, am I audible, guys?
Yes, sir. No doubt.
Yeah. So until
So can
here,
you give
is it?
examples?
Yeah, I'll come to the examples.
Okay.
Definitely, I'll come to example.
Like each part, can you explain with examples? That's what.
Yeah. Each part, right? In this infrastructure or hypervisor, you want to?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll come to that.
Okay.
So now, at least you people are okay with this flow. Like, I'm not too fast or not too slow, right? Okay. Okay. So before I give example, there are two types of hypervisor. So each hypervisor example I will give. Okay. So hypervisor, if you see, there are two types of hypervisor. One is the type 1 hypervisor and another one is the type 2 hypervisor. Both are basically created for different set of requirements. Type 1 hypervisor, if you see, so it can be directly hosted on the host on this infrastructure. There will be no intermediate physical or a software thing in between this. Okay, one is type 1 hypervisor. So type 1 hypervisors are directly hosted, so it's mostly called as even bare systems also. So, and the example for this I can say, I think, yeah. So types of hypervisor. So one example I can give is Sun XVM server. So this is basically, I think, mm, not sure, on an enterprise level, these servers, these virtual machines are being given. Okay, Sun Microsystems or even Oracle has their own type 1 hypervisor systems. Even IBM has. Okay, so now where do you think type 1 hypervisors are used? Where some enterprise or some organization wants some most secured VMs and very less latency. So in that case, this type 1 hypervisor is used. Okay, this is one example. I think it's difficult to imagine or connect with this sort of server. So type 2, I think most of you people can connect with. So second one is type 2. It's not directly hosted on the OS, on the infrastructure. In between, there will be a host operating system. On top of it, this hypervisor will be installed. So I think many of you might be using VMware VirtualBox, Open Oracle VirtualBox. Anyone using it? So people definitely, I think they will have a Windows laptop. On top of it, for doing some college projects, they will put some VirtualBox. They will download some Linux image and uh, open it and do their coding or something else. Anyone used to this VMware Oracle VirtualBox? I hope people can connect with this example. I think someone asked me these examples. Hello. Okay. So I hope you people can connect with this Oracle VirtualBox. At least in that case, if I go back to my earlier diagram, if you see, the infrastructure is nothing but your laptop. Okay. And in between the hypervisor and the infrastructure, there will be one operating system. Okay. In this example, if I say, it will be a Windows OS, and on top of Windows OS, when you install a virtual Oracle box, okay, Oracle VirtualBox, I think you can even download it. It's free of cost on the. You can Google it and see. Okay, so you can download it. So part of it will also have a complete software. Will have a hypervisor. So, and your own laptop should be enabled for these sort of applications. So at the startup, you can edit it. You can Google it out how to do and all. But yeah, this is one example. And on top of it, in the VirtualBox, you download a Linux image, and one of your virtual machine can host a Linux operating system. And in that, you can have a complete system. It looks like a complete Linux laptop, if you see. Okay. And you can even download one more CentOS image from the Google. You can get it from the Google and host one more VM. It's a single laptop, but you can see that there are two virtual machines. I hope this example, I think many of you can relate to. Say yes, no?
Yes,
Else
sir.
we can. Okay, cool. But this has a high latency. It's less secured compared to type 1. So if you know some of you people, if you are hackers, you can hack it also. So basically, beneath the hypervisor, the infrastructure, it's one single hardware, your laptop storage. So what is the guarantee that the hardware is not divided between these two VMs? Okay, of course, it's not easily you can access. Yeah, it's comparatively less secured than the type 1 based systems. Okay. So I think, yeah, these two are the two types of hypervisors on top of which these virtual machines can be, VMs can be used. Okay. Now, what is the benefit of virtualization? I'll tell you in the wave that we can connect. Most of us can connect. Okay. Let's not go to enterprise level. So one laptop, you purchased only one laptop, and but you are having two OS now. One is Windows and one is Linux. It's a cost efficient. You don't have to buy another laptop. Okay. And if you see the speed of this VM, if you, of course, if you give a very good RAM to it, it will be definitely its speed will be very good. Okay. Now let's assume what it means by lower downtime. Okay, let's assume one of the virtual machine. Okay, I think this will definitely happen in the enterprise level. So one of the virtual machine, three virtual machines are there given to three different vendors. So all three vendors are using. Let's assume one of the hypervisor went down. All three vendors are now having a problem. So what it can be done is this whole complete server is down. Okay, not sorry if I said hypervisor. This whole infrastructure is down. Whole system server is down. Now these three virtual machine people who are accessing these three virtual machine, they will be in a huge loss. Like if it is at an enterprise level, if you see per day, it will cost them a huge amount. So what they do is the same hypervisor software, they can put it into another software infrastructure in another server. So it can be easily moved from one server to another server, and still these three virtual machines they can access. Okay. It will continue like how it was. It's on the same server, you feel. Okay, that can be done. These are okay, but if you see, it's an old technology, but it definitely helps us to understand cloud computing, what we are starting next. Okay, so I hope virtualization means what you people understood. Virtualization is nothing but a mirror image where you feel that okay, you are accessing the actual system, actual servers, but if you see beneath it, a single infrastructure, a single host is used by many people, but it looks like you have been allocated one complete system. That's okay. Shall we move ahead?
So I have a doubt.
Yeah.
So can you go to the first slide?
Yeah, sure. This one?
Oh, sorry, the one with the infrastructure, the image. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for example, now I create a virtual machine, and the RAM and everything is given by the server or this one, no?
RAM is given by the infrastructure. Yeah, server basically.
Can my hardware in my laptop also aid it so that it runs more efficiently, or it's just strictly whatever the server provides?
See, if you see in your laptop, if you are doing, you can provide as much. Like if have you used this VMware or VirtualBox? Anything?
No, sir.
Okay. At the time of installation, you can mention how much your total laptop. Let's assume its total RAM is 8 GB. At the time of hosting this Linux image, it will ask you how much one virtual machine, how much of total RAM you want to provide. Of course, it restricts it. You cannot give more than 6 GB because your total RAM is only 8 GB.
Okay.
In the similar way, on the enterprise level also, for each VMs, based on the subscriptions. So even there also, subscription is done. Based on the subscription, you can get a huge amount of RAM size for one virtual machine.
So like you can use it, but it's limited, like the space given.
Yeah, but beneath it, whatever is there, that is the total size you can get. You can't get more than that. Yeah, these servers are definitely not like 8 GB, 16 GB RAM. They will be very huge RAM size will be given. So it looks like one virtual machine can be like 32 GB RAM you can get. That's
Oh,
possible.
okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So even I think I am not sure about colleges, but in the enterprise level, I can say there will be one Linux machine running in a lab. Okay, and now since it is work from home for options for all of us, or learn from home, what we do basically is that one Linux machine can be used by 2 3 employees of the company. Okay, we log into that machine and we start running our applications. We do our thing, and another guy can do beneath it. There will be one application, and one good thing is you can't see over the data of another VMs very easily. Okay, of course, there are multiple hypervisors based on that it is there, but you can't see. I try to be as easy as possible because I understand from different backgrounds people are there. Okay. Okay. Next thing. If virtualization is an age-old technology, then what's new? Uh, Nowadays, in enterprise level, if you see, I hope you people might have even heard also Docker. Docker is one platform which allows you to host your applications on a infrastructure, and one more is the Kubernetes. Okay, again in the Kubernetes, if you have a very low-end application, the requirement is not huge. You can go with the light version. K3s is one. Like if you see in the even your mobile also, I think you can understand. Facebook is one app. Now, if you don't want your mobile is a low-end version, you can even install a Facebook Lite or a Twitter Lite. So same way, even Kubernetes gives that option, K3s, K8s. So Docker is one such platform where you can uh, run your applications. Now, let's see what Docker is. Okay, so Docker is an open platform. You people can even download it on your machines. Windows Docker as well as Linux Docker, both are available, and both are free of cost. Okay, so okay, and Docker is an open platform for developing, shipping, and running applications. Now, what does it mean? Uh, it means that if you see the traditional way how the applications or a software was built, so software once in a company like our company, it's developed, and then there will be a exe file or a .jar file is created. Let's assume you put it in a, uh pen drive, go to other your uh, client, get their system access, put it over there and run it. This is one way. Okay, now next time let's assume you updated your software. Now what you will do, you can't directly put it over there, right? You have to again take your binaries from your developed machine, go there and put it. That is one way. Now what does this Docker provides? Okay, and one important thing is, now let's assume your client runs this software on a certain operating system, but definitely your development machine will be in some other operating system, because you need many development kits. Yeah. Hi, Aaron. Sorry, there was a network issue. I'm back. Till now, all okay, guys? I hope people are following what we are talking here. Okay. Okay. Where was I? So I was talking. Guys, able to hear, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Where was I? Yeah. So now you have updated your application, your software, and you want to give it. So again, you have to do the same procedure, and definitely your operating systems are different. Client can be running a Linux machine. If you see, even our most of our bank applications, they run on the Windows. And if you go beneath it, there will be they will be hosting it on some sort of VMs only. Okay. All this has an issue with our traditional way. Now, what we can achieve with this Docker platform is like you can develop it on, let's assume I develop it on Windows machine. I have Eclipse or STS or Dev C, C++ development kit, IDE, and I write my code, I build it, I run it, I verify it, and then what I do now, this application should be running on the, let's assume, Linux machine. What I do is I will, once my binary is ready, let's assume I have a Java application ready. So I create it. Once I have created it, I will create an Docker image. Okay, image is nothing but mm, I think many of you might have downloaded a Linux images from the browser, from the internet, and installed it on your laptop. So similar way, you can create a Docker image. There is no extension for it, but yeah, you can create an image. And then what you do is you run it on infrastructure, okay, on the Docker platform. Now let's assume I have an application, okay, single infrastructure is there, okay. So single infrastructure is there. On top of it, a host operating system is there here, okay. So it cannot be there also. So you can even, sorry, so you can even get, so if you see Amazon gives an edge box, so that will not have a proper host operating system. Okay, whatever, yeah, of course, there will be a Docker platform installed in it. And what it will allow you to do is you can just put your application and run it. Now, the edge box doesn't care what application you are running on what operating system. Okay, so you can choose my I am good at Java development, let's assume, and you people are good at C++ or a .NET technology or a Python. So one student, each of your student, each of you people can develop your own application, okay, and they can interact with each other also. But it doesn't mean that they have to be in the same technologies. They can be in different technologies. Okay, app A can be developed with the Java platform. App B can be developed with the .NET. App C with the Python. Okay, and they can interact with each other. And on top of it, from an outside environment, like let's suppose from your browser, you should be able to you want to access these applications. Yes, it's possible. Now, from even it doesn't need that what operating system you people are running. Okay. Now, how it is done? Okay, I understand, sir. You can tell that. Okay, I understand you. You are telling that. Okay, I can run any application on any operating system. I can develop it on any operating system. But how? How I can do this? So, okay, Docker provides the ability to package it, packages it. I hope people can relate with it. Okay, a jar needs not only your running application, it also needs an environment where you can run this application. Okay, so if you see a C program needs a GCC compiler, your Java application, if you have jar binary, what it needs, or GRE, a runtime environment. Okay, uh, so I hope you people are relating with this. What all languages or technologies you people are using currently now, so that I can talk in that terms? Any program. I will not ask any questions. Okay, you can guys can tell. I'll not ask any questions. I just want to relate with want you people can relate this. Hello, guys. Someone can say yes, no. C program, Python. If not mechanical, I hope at least our computer science or electronics students can say one language. Okay, let's do one thing. We can even chat here. If you don't want to tell anything, you people can chat and say what language you can. C, Python. Guys, am I audible?
Java on Eclipse.
Java on Eclipse. Okay, cool. Okay, guys, it's not necessarily you people have to talk. You can even send a message. You people can interact with me even with that also. Okay. So no questions will be asked from my side. Definitely, you people can ask me any sort of questions. Okay. Okay. Let's continue. Okay. Since I think I was also prepared with Java only. I'm also a Java developer. Previously, I was working on C++. Now currently moved to Java. Okay. And by the way, I'm not from computer science background. I was an electronics and communication. I had done my engineering, and slowly, because of the IT environment we have, I moved to software. But definitely, it doesn't mean that electronics and communications have not helped me. The basics will always help you people. Okay. Okay. Now coming back to Docker. Okay. Now you are able to package it. How do you package? Create an image, and now I can run that application in a very loosely isolated environment called a container. Okay, container is nothing but, like, let's assume your own containers in your home kitchens. Okay, you put any application in it and put it in this Docker platform, it will run. Okay, you don't have to think what is beneath that Docker platform. Okay, you just run this Docker platform basically. Okay, install this Docker platform on your machine. One good thing is, I think all people can try this. Okay, at least some computer science people or electronics engineers might be using this. pgadmin, it's a DB that you can access. Okay, people might have seen how difficult it is to download a software, run it in your laptop, and it takes a lot of your RAM also. Okay, so instead, what you people can do is install a Docker. Yeah, I think even more than that, I think you people can do. What is that is download a Docker platform, install it. Okay, that's it. Then after that, what you can start doing is pull any software. Okay, just go to Google, see the address, and okay, I think I can go next, and then I will tell you. Okay, now how do you create an image? Why I'm telling this is to imagine, to understand, to relate to what we are talking here. Okay, so first one, if you see Docker image, this is one just a notepad file, you can say .txt file you can create. Okay, let's assume your Java application is ready. So what you can do is, if you see first line, I'm telling from, and I'm mentioning some Alpine image. Okay, this is nothing but it comes as a Alpine, or it's a flavor of Linux. It's a very smallest, I can say, operating system, which will have only the JDK, Open11 JDK support environment, and it will only be able to run one Java application. That's it. It will not have much more than that. Okay, just an Open JDK 11 JDK. And Alpine is a very small Linux image. Okay. Now what it will do is, whenever I create an image, the first base layer, if you see a container on the base, it will install this Alpine image. Okay. Now you can also tell label maintainer. So after creating a Docker application, someone should not say that it's not your image. So you can even tell that, okay, I am the owner of this application. So you can put your name or email ID or anything. Okay. And then the working directory. So inside this is an OS, right? Alpine is an OS. So inside that, what is your working directory? Where do you want all your application to be running, and which folder you want it to be running? Okay. So for that, I will mention work directory as /opt/app. So I want my application to be running in this folder structure. Okay. And what I do next command is, I say copy. So this is my own laptop's jar file where I had kept the jar file. And the next one is Alpine's operating system. So path where I want this jar to be put, so that once you run the container, it will know where is your jar, where is your binary. Okay, it need not be a jar only. Sorry, it can be any application. You put it over there and it starts running. Okay. Now, not only a jar, you can even have a subsidiary application also, which helps this my own binary before running, what it needs to take as a prerequisite. For that, I can say I have written one shell script, wait for. So before my application starts, I want this to be running. Okay. But this wait for shell script is something I have used some dependency libraries. Okay. For that, I need netcat openbsd. Okay. Don't think what is netcat and all. Just think it as some dependency which wait for needs to run. Okay. I'm just mentioning it. I'm giving chmod. I think most of you people can relate. It's just giving an executable permission for this. And then the entry point. Entry point is nothing but once the container is running, what you want it to run. Okay. I want a shell script to be running first. sh-c and then the shell script name. And this application's name I will give for service, which port I want it to run, and then the next thing, my main application, what I want to run. Okay. Basically, people don't have to remember all these things, but if you see, if you people can understand, correlate with this. Okay, what is the first line? What a container, for a container to run, what all is needed? That much is enough. Okay. So even if you see, if you don't want your own applications to be running, you can even, what you do is pull a Docker image. Okay, there is a open registry in the maintained by the Docker organization. It's open. Okay, basically you have to just sign up for it and pull it. So the first and you will get lots of applications as small as hello world and as big as a PG admin software, or even I think even VLC media player is available. You guys can check it. Okay. So once you run it, it will just open up VLC media player. Okay, so there will be no software installation or no issues. Okay. Now, once this image file or notepad is created, what next you want? You want it to be running. Okay. The first command is docker image. Now, what you have created this image, you save it as some .txt file or some notepad in the notepad. And what we'll do, the first command you want will give is docker image build the file name. Okay. One more thing, guys. Sorry. So this image, if you people are following you need to follow a structure. Okay. So the file name should be given as a Docker file, so that when you execute this command, it will create with a name whatever you have given here. Okay. Now, if you are giving some other name also, it is possible. Just do a -f and give the file name. So from that file, it will read and create an image for you. Now, again, this image is not a physical image. Okay, you can't even copy it and send it to someone else. But there is a way. What you can do is you can use Docker push. Okay, you push it to the Docker's registry and ask someone else, some of your friend, that okay, you pull it from in his laptop. That is possible. Okay. Docker push is he can download it by saying docker pull, and then the docker inspect command. Okay, before going to docker inspect, I will say docker run. Now this jar what I have packaged in an image, I want it to run also because I want to use it. How will I do? So what I say is, in the same Docker platform, I can use a docker run command, docker run -name, the container's name you have to give, and then the image which you have just downloaded. Okay, we give this. Of course, you can even mention what port you wanted to run, what is the, if you see, if there is a /op/app, this is an Alpine's image. Okay, you will not have an access inside that, but your own Linux machine will have access while doing development, or a Windows. So you can even mirror image it. So whatever is happening in this Alpine image /op/app, you can connect it to your own Windows or Linux machine. Possible? This is a bit clumsy. I think going ahead, you people can even more relate to it. Okay. Docker was not something which was mentioned in the document, I understand, but I thought let's give a glimpse of what is going on in the industry. Okay, K3s is hugely, like, nowadays growing technology. It's a booming technology, K3s definitely. But Docker serves as a base to understand going to K3s or K8s. So even K3s images, K3s, there we, instead of calling containers, we call it as a pods. Okay, it's a small pod which will running on an application. Of course, you can run many applications, but let's assume one pod can understand. Okay. Guys, let me know if I'm talking something alien language. I don't want you people to be thinking about this guy is talking. Okay, if it's too much alien language, let me know. Okay. Okay. Now coming to our main point, today's point, cloud computing. Okay. Guys, I, at least this point, I want you people to tell me. Will not go ahead until I understand from you people. What do you think cloud is? People can write your answer on the chat box also if you people don't want to unmute. Cloud. At least the cloud which is floating in the sky. Hmm? It's okay. Yeah, when I was in college, I didn't know what is cloud computing. I didn't even knew the name also of the cloud. So that is okay if you people say no, I don't know. Okay. Even when I first heard, one of my friend told me that he is working on the cloud technologies, cloud services. I was thinking, how is it possible that he is working on cloud services? I asked him also, he told me cloud services is nothing but an application that is running and you can access it from anywhere in the world. And the first thought I got in my mind was like, cloud is he putting the data in that cloud? If yes, how is he putting and how can I access that cloud? What if on the summer is we don't have clouds? I had that worst questions, guys. So I am okay with you people saying that some blunt answers also. That is okay, guys. Guys, anything is okay. Come on, guys. Not good if I only start say speak and you people don't speak. Hey, even this happens in our IT industry also. Meetings will be going on and we don't respond to our managers. At least laugh with me, guys. Okay, cool. Let's proceed then.
So
You people are
virtual
able to
memory.
hear me, right? Sorry?
Virtual memory. That's what I think it is.
Watch my memory. Sorry, I didn't get.
Virtual,
Watch
I
my
texted
memory.
in the chat box. No, virtual.
Okay. Virtual memory. Okay.
Yeah.
Virtual memory. Sorry, I didn't see the chat box only properly. Storing of data on internet servers instead of physical hardware. Cool. Any more answers? Cool. Some people have an idea on what is cloud. Okay. So cloud is nothing but of course, you people are correct. Some sort of data, I think I can say it is uh, there in the some server. It's a storage. So why the name Cloud KM is, I think I'm taking a rough guess here. Okay. So you can access it anywhere from any part of the world. If you have an access, you can definitely access it from anywhere. You don't have to know where is it coming from. You just have to know the address to it. Okay. So you somewhere it is running. Someone is running in the and